Right then, Forest faithful, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about our upcoming clash with Arsenal. We're not just talking about 3 points here, we're talking about opportunity knocking so loudly it might just break down the door. Arsenal are in absolute crisis, and I mean crisis with capital letters. Picture this, their star defender limping off after just minutes against Liverpool, their golden boy winger out for weeks, their striker still recovering from surgery. Meanwhile, we've just spent 180 million building something special at the City ground. But here's where it gets proper mental. We've got our own drama brewing behind the scenes. Players saying goodbye to old clubs, transfer deals that fell through at the last second, and spending sprees that would make your head spin. I've got 5 stories that'll have you questioning whether we're witnessing the perfect storm or the perfect opportunity. Stories about Arsenal's walking wounded, our own Brazilian connections creating headlines, and transfer business that shows just how far this club has come. Before we dive into this madness, I need to ask you something crucial. Do you think Forest are ready to take advantage when the big boys stumble? Because what's happening at Arsenal right now is exactly the kind of moment that can define a season. Hit that like button if you think this is our moment to strike, and make sure you're commenting your predictions as we go through each story. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll either be buzzing with excitement or terrified about what's coming next. The first revelation involves Arsenal's defensive nightmare, and why their injury list might just be the best news Forest have had all season. Let's get into it. When your opponents are handing you advantages on a silver platter, you take them, don't you? William Saliba, Arsenal's defensive rock, their $27 million French international, is a major doubt for our clash at the Emirates. And when I say major doubt, I mean he pulled out of France duty with a sprained ankle, and nobody knows when he's coming back. This isn't just any defender we're talking about. This is the man who anchored Arsenal's title challenge, the center back who made more interceptions than anyone in their squad last season. Without him, Arsenal's entire defensive structure falls apart like a house of cards. But Saliba's injury is just the tip of the iceberg. Bukayo Saka, their electric winger, their creative spark, is out for weeks with a hamstring injury. Arteta's own words, Bukayo is doing better, but he will be out for a few weeks. Very unfortunate. It was an action that required full power from him, had to change direction, and he felt something. Think about what that means for Arsenal's attack. Saka created more chances than any other Arsenal player last season. He's their primary threat down the right flank, their main source of pace and unpredictability. Without him, they're predictable, they're slow, they're exactly the kind of team Forest can exploit. Then there's Kai Havertz, their versatile forward who can play across the front line. He's undergone surgery and won't be rushed back. That's 3 key players missing from Arsenal's strongest XE. Here's what makes this situation even more delicious. Arsenal have been struggling for goals already this season. They managed just 1 goal in their last 3 games, and now they're missing their most creative player and one of their most versatile attackers. Meanwhile, Ben White is another defensive concern with a knock, and Christian Norgard, their summer signing, hasn't even made his debut yet due to injury. Arsenal's treatment room is busier than their training ground right now. But here's the question that's been eating away at me. Is this actually good news for Forest, or does it make Arsenal more dangerous? Sometimes wounded animals fight harder. Sometimes they collapse completely. What I know is this. We've got players like Anderson, who just starred for England, defenders like Murillo, who Barcelona want to sign, and a squad depth that we've never had before. Arsenal are weakened, they're predictable without Saka, and their defense is shaky without Saliba. This feels like the kind of opportunity that comes around once in a blue moon. Arsenal at home, missing half their best players, while we're riding high with new signings and international recognition. Do you think Forest can capitalize on Arsenal's injury crisis? Or will their quality still be too much for us? Because what I'm about to tell you next shows we've got our own emotional stories brewing. Sometimes football gives you moments that remind you it's about more than just tactics and transfer fees. And this next story is exactly that. John, our goalkeeper, who we signed from Botafogo in the summer, made an emotional return to his old club's training ground this weekend. And the reaction from his former teammates tells you everything about the man we've just brought to the City ground. The left back Marçal couldn't contain his excitement when John walked through the doors at CT Logné. "Oh, home in Volto," he posted on Instagram. The man has returned with the kind of genuine joy you rarely see in modern football. But here's what makes this story special. John didn't have to make this visit. He's settling into life in Nottingham, learning English, adapting to a completely different style of football. Yet he still made time to reconnect with the players who helped shape his career at Botafogo. This tells us something crucial about the character of player we've signed. This isn't someone who burns bridges or forgets where he came from. This is a professional who values relationships, who understands loyalty, who respects the journey that brought him to Forest. John's arrival at Forest was part of our Brazilian revolution this summer. We didn't just sign players from Botafogo. We signed players who understand what it means to represent a club with pride and passion. The connection between Forest and Botafogo has become something special. We've signed John, Jair, Igor Jesus, Cuiabano, all from the same club that won the Copa Libertadores and competed in the Club World Cup. These aren't just random signings. This is strategic recruitment of winners. Marçal's joke about Cuiabano mandando voltar, ordering him to come back, shows the bond these players have. But it also shows something else. They're not bitter about their teammates leaving for better opportunities. They're proud, they're supportive, they're celebrating their success. What does this mean for Forest? It means we've signed players with the right mentality, players who value relationships and understand what it means to represent something bigger than themselves. John might be third choice goalkeeper right now, but his character, his professionalism, his connection to winning culture, that's exactly what you want in your squad. These are the players who set standards in training, who push everyone to be better, who bring that extra level of dedication. The Botafogo connection isn't just about talent, it's about mentality. We've imported a winning culture from South America, players who know what it takes to succeed at the highest level. But this emotional return also raises questions about John's future at Forest. If he's still disconnected to Botafogo, if his heart is still partly in Brazil, how committed is he to making it work at a city ground? What do you think? Does John's loyalty to his former club show good character? Or does it suggest he might not be fully committed to Forest? Because what's coming next shows exactly how much money we spent building this squad. Let me paint you a picture of ambition. $180 million worth of ambition, to be exact. That's what Evangelos Marinakis spent this summer transforming Forest from Premier League survivors into genuine European contenders. But when you break down where that money went, you start to understand the vision behind the madness. Igor Jesus from Botafogo, 10 million. Dan Doyer from Bologna, 35 million. Omari Hutchinson from Ipswich, 37.5 million. James McAtee from Manchester City, 30 million. These aren't panic buys. These are statement signings. But here's what gets me excited about this spending. It's not just about buying expensive players. It's about buying the right expensive players. Every single signing addresses a specific need, fills a particular gap, adds something we were missing. Arno Kalimwendo for $26 million gives us pace and goals up front. Delane Bakwa for over $30 million adds creativity and unpredictability on the wings. Nicolo Savona for $30 million. $4 million strengthens our defensive options. This is surgical recruitment, not scattergun spending. The crown jewel? Alexander Zinchenko on loan from Arsenal. Think about that for a moment. We're borrowing one of Arsenal's most experienced defenders to use against them. The irony is absolutely delicious. Nuno criticized the slowness of negotiations early in the window, but Marinakis clearly listened. By deadline day, we were completing multiple signings and building something that looks genuinely exciting. Compare our $180 million to Arsenal's summer spending, and you start to see why they might be struggling. While they were trying to fix problems with expensive patches, we were building a complete squad from top to bottom. But here's the thing about spending this much money. It creates expectations. Marinakis hasn't invested $180 million for us to finish mid-table and go out in the Europa League group stages. This is investment with a purpose, spending with serious ambition behind it. The pressure is now on Nuno to make it work. You can't spend $180 million and then claim you need more time to gel, more windows to build. Results need to come, and they need to come quickly. Looking at the names we've brought in, the quality we've added, the depth we've created, this should be our season. This should be the campaign where Forest announce themselves as serious players in both domestic and European competition. Anthony Elanga's $55 million departure to Newcastle helps balance the books, but more importantly, it shows we're not just buying anymore. we're selling at profit too. That's sustainable progress. That's smart business. The question is whether $180 million is enough to compete with the established Big Six. Arsenal spend out much on 2 players. Manchester City consider that a quiet window. Are we still shopping at a different level? What I love about this spending is the global reach. Brazil, Italy, England, Germany, Ukraine. We're not just buying from one market. We're identifying talent from everywhere and bringing it to the City ground. Do you think $180 million makes us genuine contenders? Or are we still catching up to the real big spenders? Because what comes next shows exactly what happens when that ambition meets harsh reality. You know what they say about transfer windows. For every deal you complete, there's 3 that got away. And some of the names Forest missed out on this summer will proper haunt you. Lee Kang-in from Paris Saint-Germain. We reportedly offered $30 million for the South Korean wizard and PSG laughed it off. Think about that for a moment. We're now making $30 million bids for PSG players. 5 years ago, we were in the championship. But it's not just about the money we were willing to spend. It's about the level of player we're now targeting. Kang-in isn't some promising youngster. He's an established international who plays for one of the biggest clubs in world football. Dodi Lukebakio was another winger we chased right until deadline day. Belgium international, proven Premier League experience, exactly the kind of pace and directness we needed. But Benfica swooped in with $20 million and took him to Portugal instead. Then there's Omar El Hilali from Espanyol. We made an $11 million deadline day bid for the right back, but they wanted his $25 million release clause. We weren't alone either. Everton, Wolves, and Como all tried and failed to get him. Here's what's mental about these near misses. They show how far Forest have come in the transfer market. We're competing with Benfica for Belgian internationals. We're bidding against multiple Premier League clubs for Spanish fullbacks. We're making offers that PSG actually have to consider. Pablo Maffeo from Mallorca was another right-back target where talks took place, but no fee could be agreed. The player himself admitted he thought his time at Mallorca was over, but the deal fell through and he's committed to giving his all there. Dominik Livakovic, the Croatia goalkeeper, was reportedly unhappy with our salary offer and ended up at Girona instead. Even in goalkeeping, we're targeting internationals from top European leagues. The most frustrating near miss, Javi Galan from Atletico Madrid. We were closing in on the Spanish left back before pivoting to the Zinchenko loan at the last minute. Sometimes you wonder what might have been if we'd stuck with the original plan. But here's the thing about these missed opportunities. They prove we're thinking big. Forest aren't settling for championship cast-offs or League One prospects anymore. We're targeting players from La Liga, Serie A, League One. Every club has transfer regrets, but ours are now about missing out on $30 million PSG stars rather than missing out on free agents from lower divisions. That's progress, even if it stings. The flip side is this. For every player we missed, we ended up with someone else. Instead of Kang-in, we got Delane Bakwa. Instead of Luke Bacchio, we developed other attacking options. Sometimes the player you don't sign turns out to be a blessing in disguise. What excites me most about these near misses is the ambition they show. Forest are no longer thinking small, no longer settling for second best. We are competing at the highest level of the transfer market. Do you think missing out on these big names will hurt us? Or does it show we're being smart with our money? Because what's coming next reveals exactly how ruthless we've become with squad management. Let me tell you a story about transformation. And sometimes transformation means letting go of the past to embrace the future. 14 players left Forest this summer. 14! That's not just squad rotation. That's a complete philosophical overhaul of what this club represents and where it's heading. Anthony Elanga, our biggest departure, $55 million to Newcastle. The lad who saved us from relegation, who scored crucial goals, who became a fan favorite. Gone! And you know what? That might be exactly what we needed. Newcastle fans are already questioning Elanga's impact. 2 starts, mixed reviews, struggling to justify that massive price tag. Meanwhile, we've used that $55 million to fund multiple signings who might collectively be better than one expensive winger. Danilo returned to Brazil with Botafogo, but here's the kicker. Fulham made a $30 million deadline day bid for him that was rejected. We sold him for less than that, and now he's worth more. That stings. But it also shows we're not the only ones who struggle to keep hold of Brazilian talent. Matt Turner gave a brutally honest assessment of his Forest career. Obviously, of Forest, I'm self-aware to know that I wasn't good enough. I had some really great moments, but also some tough ones as well, and the club had to make a change. That's the kind of honesty you respect. Turner knew he wasn't cutting it, accepted the decision, and moved on professionally. No drama, no blame,